The Austrian Grand Prix was supposed to be a homecoming, a celebration, Red Bull's own backyard. But what happened on that circuit wasn't just disappointing, it was damning. While thousands of fans held their breath for another masterclass, the shock came from elsewhere. Max didn't even make it through the opening laps. And that's when the spotlight shifted to the second car, the one driven by Yuki Tsunoda. What followed wasn't just underwhelming, it was catastrophic. In a race where 4 drivers dropped out, Tsunoda still finished last. That's not just poor luck. That's a glaring indictment of performance. To make matters worse, a rash move on Franco Colapinto earned him a 10-second penalty. It wasn't bold, it wasn't aggressive, it was careless. And in Formula One, where the margins for error are razor thin, that kind of mistake doesn't just hurt your race, can end your career. Red Bull isn't just watching, they're judging, and the reaction from within the camp made it crystal clear. Helmut Marko, the man responsible for evaluating Red Bull's entire driver pipeline, didn't mince words. He publicly called out Tsunoda's inability to adapt. That's not a critique, that's a warning shot. When a senior figure like Marko starts breaking down your weaknesses in public, when he compares you unfavorably to Verstappen, that's usually the beginning of the end. Marko pointed to the car's narrow working window and instability under changing conditions. Max, he said, can drive through it. Yuki, he crumbles. For Tsunoda, this was supposed to be the year of proof. Proof that after 5 seasons in the Red Bull family, from AlphaTauri to Racing Bull, he was ready to take the next step. But now, that dream feels like it's slipping through his fingers. And the problem isn't just the results, it's the trend. No Q3 appearances in 5 straight races. Knocked out in Q1 3 times. Even when Verstappen isn't on the track, Red Bull can't rely on Tsunoda to pick up the slack. That's not just frustrating for a team trying to stay at the front, it is unsustainable. And Tsunoda himself admitted after the race that he's struggling. He spoke honestly, some would say, too honestly, about not being able to string together clean qualifying laps. He said the car feels good, but he's just not executing. It's the kind of vulnerability that makes you feel for the guy, but it also confirms everything Red Bull has feared. In a cutthroat environment like Formula One, self-doubt is a luxury you simply can't afford. And for a team that thrives on unshakable confidence, Tsunoda's transparency might come off more like resignation than resilience. Red Bull doesn't operate like other teams. While some organizations invest long-term in development, Red Bull expects instant impact. You either perform or you're replaced. That's the legacy Helmut Marko has cultivated, and it's what's kept their driver program both feared and respected. And right now, that system is preparing to swallow Yuki Tsunoda whole, because while he's struggling, 2 names are already making waves within the Red Bull structure: Hadjar and Lindblad. Hadjar is currently outperforming Tsunoda in the driver's standings, despite being in a supposedly lower-tier category. That alone is raising eyebrows. Then there's Lindblad, a rising star whose recent super license exemption just cleared the final hurdle, keeping him from Formula One. When Red Bull fast-tracks someone through the licensing system, it's not a gesture, it's a plan, it's preparation for a very near future. And if you're Yuki Tsunoda, that future looks awfully crowded, but it gets more precarious. Both Hadjar and Lindblad have something Tsunoda seems to have lost: momentum. They're climbing, he's stalling. After 2 races, even Liam Lawson, another dropped Red Bull talent, has scored more points than Tsunoda. Think about that. Lawson didn't even get a proper chance before being shown the door. Yet he's now ahead of Tsunoda in the standings, doing more with less. It's a brutal reminder that in Red Bull's world, loyalty doesn't exist, only results matter. And while Tsunoda's fall is heartbreaking, it's not surprising. This is the same Red Bull system that replaced Daniil Kvyat in the middle of a season, that tossed out Pierre Gasly after just half a year in the main team, and that chewed through multiple junior drivers looking for Verstappen's equal. You think sentiment will save Yuki? You haven't been paying attention. Even more telling, Hadjar has already made it clear that he's ready for the call. He's publicly said he would accept a seat next to Verstappen, even if he doesn't feel 100% prepared. Why? Because he knows this is how it works. You don't get second chances in this system. When the call comes, you answer. You deliver. You disappear. Now, consider this. With Max's future at Red Bull increasingly uncertain and whispers of a Mercedes move lingering, Red Bull isn't just looking for a number 2. They may soon need a new team leader. And if that happens, the driver sitting next to Max today could be leading the team tomorrow. That's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And Hadjar and Lindblad are watching it unfold in real time, knowing full well that Tsunoda is no longer part of that conversation. Segment 3. The Perez paradox and the future leadership crisis, another layer to this drama, one that makes Tsunoda's situation even more unstable, and that's the ongoing crisis with Sergio Perez. Despite having one of the best cars on the grid, Perez continues to deliver wildly inconsistent performances. One week he's on the podium, the next he's getting knocked out in Q1. Red Bull has been patient, but not because they believe in Perez long-term. They've been patient because Max Verstappen is so dominant. He masks Perez's shortcomings. But what happens when Max isn't there? Like in Austria, that's when the truth comes crashing down. And the truth is that Red Bull doesn't have a second car capable of consistently scoring points, let alone winning. That's not just a driver problem. That's a strategic liability. In Constructors' Championships, every point counts. And right now, Red Bull is essentially a one-car team. That might work for a while, but in the long run, it's suicide. This is why the team is casting their net wide. It's not just about replacing Tsunoda, it's about rebuilding the entire support system around Verstappen or whoever leads the team next. Because if Max decides to leave in 2026, Red Bull needs to be ready. That means cultivating leadership potential now. And unfortunately for Yuki, he doesn't fit that mold. His self-doubt, inconsistency, and lack of upward momentum have made that abundantly clear. Hadjar, by contrast, is raw but hungry. Lindblad is even younger, but Red Bull sees something in him that warrants early exposure. The fact that they're already planning FP1 sessions for him in Silverstone shows just how serious this transition is. They're not waiting to evaluate, they're actively testing, actively preparing. Red Bull doesn't do anything by accident. This isn't an experiment. It's a succession plan. So where does this leave Tsunoda? Honestly, nowhere. If Hadjar moves up, Lindblad gets promoted to Racing Bulls, and Yuki is left without a seat. It's a domino effect, and once it starts, it's impossible to stop. The timing couldn't be worse for him either. Most mid-tier teams already have long-term development drivers. Mercedes has Antonelli, McLaren is locked in. Ferrari is looking inward. Tsunoda's only hope would be a surprise vacancy or a reserve role, but with his current form, even that feels far-fetched. It's a harsh truth, but one that defines F1. If you're not moving forward, you're falling behind. And for Yuki, it seems the ground has already disappeared beneath his feet in the ruthless arena of Formula One. Talent is just the entry fee. What keeps you in the game is performance. Cold, hard, relentless performance. And right now, Yuki Tsunoda doesn't have it. It's not a matter of opinion, it's fact. The data doesn't lie. The standings don't lie. And most of all, Red Bull's silence around his future. That speaks louder than any press release ever could. Peter Windsor wasn't being cruel when he called Tsunoda's qualifying criminal. He was being accurate. Because when your teammate is getting laps under 105 and you can't even escape Q1, something's fundamentally broken. Windsor's breakdown of Tsunoda's technique, his misuse of the front tires, his inability to manage heat buildup isn't just expert analysis, it's an indictment. It suggests that Yuki isn't just out of rhythm, he might be out of his depth. And yet this is a tragedy of potential, because Tsunoda did show promise. In earlier seasons he had flashes of brilliance, aggressive overtakes, daring defensive moves, the kind of raw energy that made you believe he might someday make the leap. But that window is closing, and Red Bull doesn't wait for windows to reopen. They smash them, install new glass, and move on. There's still a small chance for redemption. If Tsunoda can pull off a miracle in the next few races, deliver Q3 appearances, score points, maybe even a top 6 finish, he might buy himself more time. But based on current trajectory, that's wishful thinking. Red Bull has already started preparing for life after Yuki, and F1 history shows us. Once Red Bull moves on, they rarely look back. So now we turn the question to you. Should Red Bull give Tsunoda another chance? Is there still a fighter left in him, or has he simply hit the ceiling of his career? And if he does lose his seat, will another team pick him up, or is this the final chapter of his F1 journey? Tell us what you think in the comments below. And if you're passionate about the future of Formula One, where it's headed, who rises, who falls, hit that subscribe button and stay locked in. Because this sport doesn't wait. It changes every race, and we're here to bring you every twist, every turn, and every second that matters.